love yet.
Do they really say
That
you're a good listener?
Yeah. People say we actually talked about this. It's part of my drama. People say I'm a good listener because I don't talk. Because I don't
Oh.
yeah, right? Mhm.
Hello and welcome to Waking Up with Nana and PepPep. I am Arugs, Nana,
Are you?
Anna, pick one. Hi,
Moogs, Aroogs.
Moogs, and
You are
I know
everything.
one of this everyone. And this is my lovely co-host, Sean.
Lovely. Alright, I'll take it.
Lovely, you're
Hi, everybody.
lovely.
Aw,
AKA PepPep.
lovely.
Yay!
Mhm.
And this is Waking Up with Nana and PepPep, where we discuss trauma, most specifically religious trauma. We do touch in on
Yeah.
a lot of other different types of trauma, but our focus is religious trauma. So, welcome to everyone, and welcome to those who may have just started watching. All right, our lovely disclaimer, yay, that we start off
Oh,
every
mhm.
episode with. We are not licensed therapists. Anything that we say is purely our own experiences and our own opinions. If you need professional advice, please let us know and we will definitely help you get in touch with that. So don't take anything we say as doctrine. We both have grown up in the Southern Baptist Convention, which is a Christian Protestant fundamentalist church.
Oh, not a cult?
Oh, no, it's a cult. But,
It's a cult, okay.
but we are not religion bashing. We actually think faith and religion is actually a beautiful thing when done in a mentally and emotionally healthy way.
Mhm,
However, we were not raised that way. We do
mm-mm,
understand that churches have changed and that there are churches that are welcoming and growing and all of those things. However,
mhm.
that is not how we were raised, and we were raised in a very emotionally and mentally damaging mindset. And so, this is us having to deconstruct and reconstruct our entire lives and dealing with the trauma that comes with it and the everlasting effects and digging up the ways that it has affected us when we didn't even realize that it was affecting us. So,
Oh, we've been digging
yeah,
deep.
yeah. So, welcome.
Mhm.
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
Yay! So
So
I am
what are we talking about tonight?
okay, well, I am feeling a little under the weather.
Mhm.
So if I'm a little spacey today, please forgive me. I'm very medicated. So
You are heavily medicated.
I am drugged up. Oh, I did a John
Oh,
Don pun
oh my god. Don't do that.
transition.
Oh, Lord. You know what? I'm out. I think I'm done for that's my quota. Tapping
We're
out.
talking sex, drugs, and eternal damnation.
But you being drugged up
Porn.
is a great segue.
I know, right? Do you like that? Do you
Mhm.
like that? That was good.
It was good. It was good. It was good.
Thanks. Thanks. So we are
Yep.
talking porn and drugs and all of those things that are not necessarily bad in themselves. But we were taught was like the road to a damnation and that we were
Yes.
totally misinformed about. We were
Yes.
misinformed about just porn and drugs and sex in general, and so all of that.
We were
Hold on real quick.
misinformed about anything. We're misinformed about anything that felt good, right? Because if you feel good, well, that's a problem. You shouldn't feel good. You're not supposed to feel good. Feeling good
What?
means feeling good is bad. Okay.
Feeling good's big, okay?
Good. Okay. That's where we're at.
Oh my god, like, I don't know, like, everything that was felt good, and anything that felt good. Music that you liked, clothes that you like to wear, makeup
Yes.
you like to wear, drugs were just
Mhm.
I also grew up in the drug era where,
Dare.
oh, yay! Dare!
We grew up in
Just say
Dare.
no.
Oh my lord. We grew up in Dare. Anyone that grew up in Dare
Dare.
knows exactly what we're talking about just by saying Dare.
And it just
It
it
was
weaved itself in, like, and they were able to
Yep.
use that. The church was able to use that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but let's start from the very beginning. Yay.
It was a cold night in November 1979. Oh no, you that's too far back. Sorry. My bad.
We're n-
You said
Mm.
beginning.
Was it cold? How do you know it was cold? You were in the womb.
I don't. It was in November.
In the South.
That's true. You point in North Carolina. It could have been cold and then hot, and then cold and then hot. It didn't matter.
Anyway,
So we're starting at the beginning.
porn. We're gonna talk porn
Start with
first. Let's
porn. All
talk
right.
porn. We're gonna
Let's
talk
do
porn
it.
because who doesn't love porn? I mean,
Brown chicken.
who
Bow
doesn't love
wow.
porn? Brown
Right.
chicken, brown cat. Okay, so so do you want to start with your first experience with porn?
My reason. My first. Oh god. My first. Oh god. I hadn't even thought about this until you said first experience with porn. And this isn't porn, but I'm gonna talk about it because the way I grew up, it might as well have been. My first experience with porn was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
Wasn't that everyone's like wasn't that
No, no.
like
Some people it was Sears. It was the Sears catalog.
yeah, but
Hmm.
our generation, it was the swimsuit or
The
National
softer
Geographic, depending on
National
where
Geographic.
your fetishes lie. Like that was
That's true. Mm, my older brother subscribed to Sports Illustrated, so of course he got the swimsuit issue, and man, that was something else. Because I didn't have back, because we're talking back in the '80s, late '80s, early '90s at that point. So no, we had no internet. We had no. It was magazines. Pretty much everything was a magazine at that point. So pages stick together, that kind of stuff. It was magazines. That's all we had.
you nasty. Clean up after yourself.
I mean, paper products.
You want to know what my
We
first porn
had
was? You want to know? Are
what?
you ready?
Oh, I totally want to know. I think our audience wants to know too.
Okay. Those dirty romance novels. My grandmother read them, like the big, like Danielle Steele with like
Yes.
the hunk on the bottom, like
Yes,
erotica,
Fabio. It was almost
like
everyone had.
erotica novels. Like all these women on
Yes.
TikTok who were like, "Ooh, I got this smut novel." I was like, bitch, please." Danielle Steele was all up on the OG.
Yes. Yes. There were these thick novels, and man, so yeah, there were some women who absolutely read every single one of them. Yep. So so did you borrow those? Hmm. Yeah. Of course you did. It's good reading, wasn't it?
His
See, that was
throbbing member.
his throbbing. Oh my god.
But
Wow.
here's the thing that I didn't understand, and
Mhm.
this is sort of where we're leading it. Everybody's like, "Oh, we gonna talk porn today?" I was like, "But here's where it ties all in."
Mhm.
We were told that porn was bad,
Yes. Mhm.
but we were allowed to have these things.
The books, the romance novels, because they were called romance novels.
Yes, and you were allowed to have
Because
Sports Illustrated magazine, right?
yes. Mhm.
Because it was a
Yeah.
sports magazine.
Well, you could have Sports Illustrated, but the swimsuit edition, that was you really weren't supposed to have that. Or Maxim. It started as Sports Illustrated, and then some people switch over to Maxim. But yeah, it was like the taste of it without
Do
full
you
on.
remember feeling very
It was easier to access.
ashamed being
Yes. Oh yeah.
aroused by all of
Dirty.
that?
Oh yeah,
Dirty,
absolutely. Dirty, ashamed.
dirty.
Yeah, every single time. Brother was like, "Where's my where does my Sports Illustrated?" We all knew what he was talking about.
Ew, no, you know what? No, like that's a rueful, like,
My
but
my first porn. I was going to tell you specifically. The first porn was again magazine form. My neighbor, my neighbor's family, they didn't have any of the this trauma, these hangups. They had other trauma, but not this particular one. They weren't churchgoers or anything. So they had Playboy, um, and such.
look how
And
happy
he
he
stole a
is,
couple
folks.
of
Look
them.
at how happy he is talking
This
about
is
this.
funny. It's funny to think about this. So
Mhm.
he stole a couple of them, and he put them in a grocery bag, plastic grocery bag, and then he tied it really tight, and then he buried it. Like we had tons of woods behind our house back then,
See Rube's
And
penthouse letters. Oh yeah, because you read them for the
yes.
articles.
Oh, yeah, the letters in those was like the romance novels that you read,
Oh
but
my
just
god.
shorter, abridged. But yeah, so he hid it in a grocery bag and then buried it back in the woods. And then every once in a while, we'd go out there and you know look
That
through the
was a good
magazine. Wait,
friend.
wait,
It was like contraband.
it was. Wait, don't forget the cliche. Hold on. Open and unfold. Right, centerfold. Oh yeah. Some of y'all just had a flashback. Some of y'all did. Hmm.
Okay, so do you remember when they started having so cuz we all were teenagers, we all were and we've already established Sean, you and I. Hey, great big bear. Um that we were not the model Christians. We tried.
Ooh.
We tried
Which are
really hard, but
some
we
we
can
did.
that
We gave into the flesh.
we did
We
give
were
into
weak.
the flesh.
We're so weak, but it
Some of us more
felt
than
so
others.
good. Yeah, some of us more fleshly than others. Yes,
I mean, I was a little rebel, but do you remember when the pastor would have the sermon about porn? Do you remember? Like they
there was
had one at
always
least
yes.
once a year. At least once a year, if
Hmm.
once like twice
Yeah.
a year.
Yep. Hmm. It was kind of fun watching everybody squirm. It's also awkward because everybody was doing it, but nobody would admit it. Especially if the pastor admitted to having a porn addiction.
And it was always an addiction, wasn't it? It was
Yes, it was
never
always an addiction.
appreciation of porn. It was never
Yes,
just enjoying of porn. It was
yes.
just it was always an addiction.
It
Now
was straight to the
I
addiction.
right. I will hold there is such a thing as porn addiction.
Mhm,
And if you have
mhm,
that, please get help. We are not saying
mhm,
that that is not doesn't exist. What we are saying
mhm,
is that the extreme that we were raised in the church. So it was never, you could never just enjoy porn. You could never just enjoy drugs.
mhm.
You could never
Yes.
experiment with things. It was
Mhm,
you were either abstinent, you abstained from
mhm.
everything, or you were an addict. You were a
An
drug
addict.
addict.
Yep,
You were
there
an
was no middle
alcoholic. You
ground.
were a porn addict. You were
Yes.
going to hellfire. You were the worst of the worst of the worst. There was
Yep.
no experimenting. And that is so damaging, especially
Mhm.
when you first discover porn
Yes.
and the
Mhm.
shame.
Because yes. Well, and a lot of times whenever you're forced to abstain from something, because it wasn't really our choice. It was taught, indoctrinated, it was pushed on us, and so if we ever whenever we inevitably got to the point where we were like, well, I kind of want to see what it's like, you end up often overcompensating for that. And so instead of like, oh, just appreciating it, you don't learn how to do that. You're never taught how to do that. You then begin to consume it in large amounts. Well,
Mhm.
like, yeah, so they say, well, if you look at porn, you're a porn addict. Well, if you keep something out of my hands and tell me I can't touch it, and then suddenly I get it, yeah, I may tend to overindulge in that at first.
And
But that's not
the
but they
problem
caused
with
that.
pushing the shame on
Mhm,
porn is because you watch porn and then you
mhm,
masturbate. And then it's that
mhm.
whole shame of touching yourself and the shame of
Yes.
arousal. And it's just,
Yeah. Mhm.
oh,
The
I
shit.
don't know how I would love for a day, if I had a magic wand
Mhm.
or a fairy godmother or something for a
Uh-huh,
day
uh-huh.
to literally say, okay, I want to remove all of the shame that was put upon me about
Mhm,
my body and my natural functions
mhm,
and my just all the shame that involves my body, how it
mhm,
looks, how I should use it, remove it
mhm.
for a day. I would love to see how that is because that is just like to this day. I thought you did have a magic wand. That I mean, yes. I mean, yes, we're talking porn and
Mhm,
masturbation. Yes, I have one of those. Her name is Wanda
mhm,
and she's blue.
mhm.
So
You have a friend.
I got a lot of friends. I got a gang. Um, but just the shame The shame of
Yes.
it all, the shame of watching
Mhm.
porn. And let's not even talk about when you start getting into not just watching the regular porn. And I put that in quotation marks because I put say
Mhm.
regular porn as in like man and woman and doing man and woman things.
Mhm.
Now, I am bisexual and I started exploring lesbian porn. I started exploring things that involved all like woman on woman. And that in and of itself opened up this whole thing. And like, I never, like, I'm going to hell. Like I'm going to hell. Like I always knew it's like this feels good, but it's really bad and I'm going to go in hell and God hates me. Like
Mhm.
I did you ever okay, this might be TMI. Whenever you were getting yourself all friendly,
Mhm.
right? Was there
Yes.
ever when you were deep in the church as a teenager, did you ever
Mhm.
was
Deep
there
in the
ever like
church.
deep in the church?
Deep in the church. Sorry. Yes.
When you were did was there ever like maybe just even just one time where you thought to yourself, Jesus is watching me?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Mhm. It's usually right
What?
after. That's usually what happens. That's where the shame happens. You're like, "Oh, this feels good," and then you're done, endorphins spike, and then they crash, and then you're like, "Shame." That's when the shame wizard comes swooping in and just starts sprinkling the shame dust. Yeah.
Jesus self
Jesus is
gratification.
watching.
There you go, self gratification. Yet, like
Mhm.
Jesus is watching me. Like Jesus is watching me, and like the shame of just
The
masturbating
shame.
and just
Yes.
watching porn, and
Mhm.
how,
Did you
and as a woman, I wasn't allowed to do any of that stuff.
did you ever watch porn and then immediately have the shame and think, I'm an addict? I watched it, therefore I must be an addict. Did you ever
No,
actually think through that? Okay,
no.
I have. Yeah, that's because porn is really pushed on from a male's perspective. It's really emphasized with men, which is interesting that it's overemphasized with men or very emphasized with men, but it's not as emphasized with women
Because we're not supposed to,
growing
just
up or
period.
girls. Yeah, yeah,
Period.
because
We weren't supposed to have
you had
sexual desires. We weren't supposed to
yeah,
watch porn. We weren't supposed to do any of the things. We were supposed to be pure and modest. So the
yes,
discussion never came up because that is not what we were taught. We were taught
hmm
we were not allowed to be sexual. We were allowed to be Jesus is a voyeur. Yeah. And God is a sky
oh,
dom.
Sky Dom. Absolutely Sky Dom.
Um, and we were just so just like the sex conversation, it never
Mhm.
happened because we weren't
Yes.
supposed to be doing it. Period. End of
Yes.
story. It was our
Mhm.
job to remain pure and modest for the men. So
Mhm.
I never got that
Mhm.
whole you're an addict, porn addict, or you're whatever. I just got the you're not supposed to do it. Period.
Gotcha.
There was no leeway.
Yeah. Porn porn is the gateway sin. That's what the church sees it as. Porn, like, everything is the gateway. If you do this, then you're gonna do this. It's like, think about the '80s and marijuana. Pot was the gateway drug, right? If you do pot, tomorrow you're gonna do an 8 ball. It was always there was a
I love
huge
the fact
leap.
you know what those are and you have done like
Yeah.
continue.
I may or may not have done one of those.
I
I'll
love
let
how you
y'all
went
figure
from
out which
marijuana to
one.
eight ball. Jesus Christ.
No,
Okay.
that's
Yeah, I mean, you're
that's
right.
what was taught. Is if you do one, then you're gonna do the other. If you watch porn, then you're gonna go sleep with everyone, and that, of course, according to the church, is a terrible, terrible thing. How dare you sleep with other people and not marry them or not be married to them?
I
Right? Hmm.
I am thinking of all the okay, let's just say, thanks to my trauma, I
Hmm.
was a hoe. I am not going to be ashamed of that. I was a hoe. I enjoy sex. I have a high sex drive.
Hmm.
I was a hoe. I am
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
like I was not selective. So yeah, yeah. Like
Hmm. And
I
no
am
one, no
glad.
one's.
I am
Hmm.
glad I didn't marry any of them. Save
Hmm.
one.
Well, you know, men you're not gonna find a good Christian man if you're gonna be like that. You're probably yeah, that was the point. Mhm. Yeah.
So let's talk about your book since we're on
Oh
porn.
my god. Do we
Let's
oh
talk about
lord.
your
Oh
book.
lord.
For educational purposes, we actually have reading material, folks.
We do. We do. I
Um,
received this book years ago. Yes.
but yeah, it yeah, porn. Porn is just so much fun. Why I don't porn is
Mhm.
fun. Porn is fun.
Are we talking about watching it or making it?
Yes.
Both. Yes.
Why do we have to be
Mhm.
exclusive? Porn is
We don't. We could
fun.
and mhm.
And anything can be porn. Anything can be porn. And
Mhm.
I just I don't understand. Well, no, I do understand.
Mhm.
If it makes you feel good, if it helps you discover yourself, if it helps you come, how can that be bad?
Yeah, let's kind of talk about we there was never a benefit. We were never taught how to what it is and that it can be good and it can be bad because anything can be an addiction. Anything can be taken too far. Anything can be taken too far and become pretty much an addiction. So we weren't
Porn is my
taught to
friend.
there you go.
Do you
Um
go hand in hand?
I was oh god, I was getting ready to say that. Oh my god.
I should not be on caffeine and, and medication.
Caffeine and medication? No. Drugged and caffeinated. Yeah.
So
So it was
anyway,
always black and white. Like so
mhm,
much of things that we've talked about in this, it's always black and white. It's good or it's bad. Usually, if it feels good, it's bad. That's what we're taught. We're never taught that there are benefits to porn and masturbation because the church doesn't believe that they exist. But the benefits are like helping you understand what you like and what you don't like. You're supposed one of the real one of the paradoxes of the whole abstinence purity culture is that you're supposed to stay pure both in what you do with other people and what you do with yourself until you're married because your body isn't yours. Oh, that's where it comes from. My body is okay. That's a whole that goes deeper. Um, so
don't
you
get
don't know
me
what you like.
started.
I know. Sorry. Hold on. I'm redirecting.
Mhm.
So you're supposed to be able to when you get married, you're supposed to be able to tell your partner what you like and don't like. But how are you supposed to do that when you don't when you haven't done anything? You have no idea what you like and what you don't like because you haven't done anything or you're not supposed to have done anything. So you never find out what works and what doesn't work, what feels the best, what doesn't feel the best, and a lot of everybody's different. And with porn, you don't. Porn really can help you. Porn can be research. I mean, you know this.
Research.
You're on a podcast, all right?
I may have a
It's
podcast for that.
research. Yeah, yeah. Your search history, it's for research.
That's it.
But but seriously, you can figure out what you like and what you don't like as far as kinks and fetishes. You figure out what you're into with porn, as opposed to figuring that out with someone else who may or may not have like the same things. You could have some very awkward experiences that way. As opposed to going, yeah, I like when this happens, and then be able to tell the person you like that and then have a conversation. What what is rampant in this book called Every Man's Battle?
Why don't you tell them what the book is first?
Tell them what the book is.
Yes.
Um, it is about the challenge and the fight that every man faces. It is about sexual immorality. It is the fight against sexual immorality. Yeah.
Focusing on porn.
I've well, yeah, porn and anything visually stimulating. Let's go with that. So, yes.
Oh wait, you weren't talking about me? Okay, sorry. My bad. I am
Oh
not
no, no,
visually
no.
stimulating
That's
right now. I am actually looking like
oh.
run over turd. Anyway, go ahead.
Did Bronner just say he takes pasta too far?
I'm just glad Adam didn't eat the first apple. What the okay,
What? What? Wait, hold on. No, Bronner. All right. Bronner's trying to rabbit trail us. Go ahead. No, yeah, you were about to pop a cork. Do it.
there are many theories about the Adam and Eve and the apple situation,
Mm-hmm.
and a theory that I have heard. Now I cannot confirm or deny this, but the theory is that what God was saying is that to not eat the apple, and actually the snake was representation of sex, and so the church have used the story of Eve eating the apple as she was tempted by sex, which is why they try to suppress women, because she was the reason for the downfall because of her lustful nature. And that's also why Lilith was technically kicked out as Adam's first wife, because she was made equal to Adam and wanted equal rights, and apparently wanted to be on top, and that was not it.
No, no, no. Missionary only. Missionary only.
Anyway, book.
Wow.
Mhm.
All right. Good to know. So, book. Every man's battle.
They didn't want us lusting after anything.
Yep.
Anyway.
It's because It's because it's women's fault. Men were deceived. Men don't have a lot of self control. So if it was Eve's, yeah. But actually, that factors into what we were taught. It's men don't have a lot of self control on their own, and so you really need God's help in order to control your hormone, your body, and your lustful thoughts, evil thoughts. God can help you. You just have to pray about it. Pretty much it. Yeah. So porn is bad. Porn leads to lust. Lust leads to evil. Evil leads to a weak flesh. It's kind of like the Star Wars thing, right?
Keep going.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
like
yeah.
all the words
Okay.
coming out of my mouth. Nope. Sex is not meant to be
Hmm.
pleasurable. It is a tool for procreation. If you enjoy it, you are wrong. Exactly. But
Yeah,
here's the
yeah.
dichotomy. Here's the dichotomy of it all, Ray.
Hmm.
That it was not supposed to be pleasurable for us, but we were
Hmm.
supposed to pleasure our husbands.
Hmm. Wifely
We
duties.
are not supposed to deny our husbands. We are supposed to be pleasing and appealing to our husbands so that he isn't tempted to run off. And that's why porn is a big deal,
Hmm.
is because we were taught that if our husband or our boyfriend or our partner was watching porn, we were not doing our job as women to keep him
Hmm.
focused on us. You want to talk
Yes.
about some insecurity issues shoveled on a fucking 16-year-old, and
Right.
tell them that.
Yep. And that was when my growing up. That was shoveled on me, and when I was married, it was there because this porn was a huge issue between my ex during my marriage, because she grew up fundamentalist, Pentecostal, and so that was a big deal for her. And so it wasn't like all of a sudden we were married and then we could do that. No, porn was just flat out wrong. It wasn't like you could get married and then porn was okay. No, porn was always wrong. And we were taught that as a male, if you watch porn, that means you're telling your spouse that they're not good enough. You're supposed to be 100% committed. Um, oh yeah,
Oh, I absolutely.
wow,
Ray.
Ray, yeah,
Ray coming in with
she is,
the.
she is.
So, anyway, no
Um,
porn in your marriage.
no porn. Yeah, porn means that you're supposed to be 100% committed to your spouse, to your wife. So if you're watching porn, that means you're not. If you're watching porn, that means she's not good enough. If you're watching porn, that means your spouse isn't satisfying you and performing her wifely duties. So that's taught. We're taught that that's what happens when we watch porn. That's a whole lot of that's a whole lot of weight on our shoulders. Like if we have a thought, if we see someone that we find attractive, we are supposed to that's bad. And we feel guilt and shame for having a thought about, oh, she's hot. Seeing someone seeing someone in yeah.
Okay, I
Mhm.
am okay. I'm gonna have to pause. Maybe make a note there where you need to stop
Okay.
and re-enter. But I have to
Mhm.
interject, and I am not. I am not over here trying to negate how hard that is and how
Mhm.
difficult that was for you and your experiences. I'm not trying
Mhm.
to negate that or belittle that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I would like you to think about, okay, you were taught how difficult and the weight on your shoulders about just having a
Mhm.
thought. How difficult
Yes.
and awful it was for us, the fact that we were supposed
Oh.
to not have a natural function. We were supposed to
Mhm.
not even just have thoughts, but not have any physical reactions whatsoever. That we weren't
Mhm.
allowed to have any autonomy over our bodies, that when we had a lustful action, it wasn't even just that it was a thought. It was just like,
Mhm.
oh, you were taught that, oh, boys are going to be boys and they're going to have those thoughts and you just need to control
Mhm.
them. We weren't
Mhm.
allowed to have any of it. We were supposed
Yeah.
to scrub that from our mind. As a good
Mhm.
Christian girl, as a good Christian woman, my job is to find the right Christian boy, marry him, fall in love, marry him, serve God, have babies, and raise them and
Mhm.
be a mother. There was nothing in there about any of it. It's always pushed on how to be pleasing for our husbands and how to stay modest so that our responsibility. The weight
It
you
was not
guys
yeah.
carried, it was
Oh,
all
yeah.
our responsibility. It
Mhm.
was our responsibility to stay modest. It was our responsibility to stay modest, but we were supposed to stay attractive enough to keep our
Mhm.
husbands from
But not anybody
straying
else.
for this
But
woman
not
who's looking hot as
Mhm.
fuck, but we're not allowed to
Mhm.
look hot as fuck because that's not being modest. So you want to know
Mhm.
about how that's a dichotomy and how that really can fuck you up and fill you full of insecurity and inferiority? That right there. And it was like, oh,
Mhm.
if they're watching porn, you're not doing your job as a woman. And it's like,
Yep. Yep. Hypocrisy, yeah, the hypocrisy, the paradox, yeah, absolutely, the contradictions, oh, they abound in pretty much everything.
my favorite question to ask the
Yeah.
sex is only for procreation crowd is, if sex is only for procreation, why did God make it pleasurable for both men and women?
Mhm.
I don't think some people have figured
Some
that
people
out yet.
yeah, I don't think some people believe that.
There's a toy for that.
Oh, there
That's my catchline. There's
that's
a toy for
the toy for that.
that.
That's true.
And
Mhm.
that's such utter bullshit. You're right, Bates. And that's what infuriates
Mhm.
me so much, is that it's expected of men. The expectation is they will be lustful, they will watch porn, they will do these things, but then they're teaching
Mhm.
them how to resist it. We are
Mhm.
taught that we are responsible for their actions, which then teaches us
Yep.
to be inferior, insecure, and codependent. And it teaches
Mhm.
us that we are responsible for other people's actions, which is a type of mind control. And it
Yes.
starts with porn, and it starts with all the things that make you feel good and all the things that make you want to
Mhm.
question and try to be independent, all the things that make you
Mhm.
want to feel good about yourself. Because if you feel bad, they can control you. If you feel
Yep,
shame,
that's what
they
shame is
can
for.
control
Yep,
you.
that's where the shame comes in. Shame is how you control. Absolutely. And you lose and they teach that you don't have autonomy. You don't have autonomy for your own body. Well, if he wants it, you should just, you know, you should just take care cuz he wants it. It doesn't matter how you feel. It's really because, you're supposed to yeah. And that's still taught. That's what's sad. That is still very much taught.
It is very much. And it's that you are not allowed once you're married. And okay, I'm
Mhm.
going to be completely transparent, and luckily I haven't had to really deal with this. I haven't had to deal with it. Is that what
Mhm.
I had thought in my head, that I couldn't say no. That I couldn't
Mhm.
say no until I started saying no. And
Mhm.
then I realized I was he would rather me say no than go along with it, and how that was really damaging. Like,
Yeah. You
you
have to have autonomy.
you're allowed to say no, and I honestly,
Mhm.
and it wasn't on him. That wasn't on him. I don't want you to think like,
Mhm.
for me, I thought I couldn't say no.
You
I
were taught that you're not
honestly
supposed to.
believed I couldn't say no.
Mhm.
Until, and here's the kicker, until I started getting into the kink community. Until I
Yes.
started getting into the kink community, because
Yes.
in the kink community, I learned more about consent and boundaries
Mhm.
and what's
Mhm.
acceptable. And that even though
Yep.
my partner is like feeling one way, that I'm still allowed to do these things and he's still allowed, like they're allowed
Mhm.
to have
And that
boundaries and say no as well. And it's one of those things
in
that
communication.
they don't teach you that shit in the church. The one, like, they don't
Nope.
teach you consent. They don't teach you
Nope.
boundaries. They don't teach you healthy sexual relationships. They don't teach you how
Mhm.
porn is fucking amazing. Like, for real,
Mhm.
porn is great. And some of these porn stars, whew, like, hot,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm on my soapbox, sorry.
I went through the majority of my marriage not watching porn, trying not to. That's exhausting. Because that was a thing for her. She was like, "No, porn is bad, porn is evil." And she felt that if I was watching porn, then that meant that and not only that, but she felt the same thing about masturbation. If she was if I masturbated, that means that she wasn't good enough. That she wasn't enough. That it was a reflection upon her. No, I'm just horny. That's what that meant. That's really what it was. It was like, I'm just horny. And just it puts all the responsibility on one person. And we talked about this in other areas or other podcasts. It puts all that one person is responsible for filling everything. And sometimes, and I'm not talking about like polyamory or I'm talking about if you like a certain thing and you want to watch the porn, that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a bad thing that you should feel shame about, or masturbating. It's a natural thing. It's a normal thing to do that, to want to do that. And so,
I I can openly think that I still had that mindset going in to my marriage. Like, I'm like,
hmm
it was more of a don't ask, don't tell like thing. Like,
hmm
we just didn't talk about it. It's just don't
yeah,
I mean, just
we
we
should
just
talk.
don't talk about it. And now I'm
We don't
like,
talk about porno.
no, 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 no.
Oh,
But
no.
now it's like everybody. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
I like everybody. I'm like, hey, let's go to RedTube. Ah, let's see what's on there. Like, or like,
hmm
but it's so healthy. It's so healthy. It really is. And you figure out what you
hmm
like and what you don't like. And it's healthy to have those, to have that discussion with
Yeah.
your partner and not feel that shame. But like,
hmm
you still, it's just, I honestly, I know I'm gonna have to get over this one day, but I still feel like watching porn is like a solo activity. Like, it's my me
I was
time.
gonna I was gonna ask,
It's my
have you
me
have you ever
time.
watched porn with your part with a partner?
Well, no,
No.
and I was like, it's me
Okay.
time. It's
It's me time.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't like,
Yeah.
it's not been a group thing. Like,
So
but
have
that's
you
just
have
me.
you ever?
It's me
Yeah.
time.
Are you sure it's not shame? Sure, there's not a little shame
I think the
factor
issue
in
is that
there?
when a partner masturbates, they feel like they're doing as a substitute for sex with them. Yes, and that's true, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's not like
That's where the
you,
communication comes in.
right? Like, sex is different. We all know
Yes.
sex, and ties back to being the whole soul provider of pleasure. Yes. Sex
Mhm.
is different. And it's not, and that's
Mhm.
where it goes back to the church, either or. Why can't it be and? Like,
Mhm.
you can have both. You can enjoy masturbation and still enjoy fucking. Like, it's okay
Mhm.
to have both. Like,
And if one partner would rather masturbate than have sex, there's a conversation that needs to have.
Right.
And that did not happen in my marriage, and it was not me.
Huh.
I was
Sorry.
I was told, I'd rather just masturbate. It's just easier that way.
See,
That'll do a number on you.
I like both. I'm like, no, let's figure like I want it like I want both. I want
Yeah,
both.
totally. I
I
would
want
I would have
both.
been totally fine with both, but it was not put to me as both. It was put to me as this. I would rather do this than that. I'd rather do it myself than do it with you. See, that's where a conversation needs to happen, and the conversation never really did happen.
No, she would rather do it with somebody else than you.
Well, that is
That
true, and she
there's
did.
that.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, yeah. So,
But et cetera, and the being the sole provider pleasure. Yes. I mean, and it
yeah.
goes back to that central we're taught in the church, and we're not the only religion that like Southern Baptist it's
Mhm.
that's across all religions, I think, for the most part, is that you marry this person, they're it, that's it. This is
Mhm.
they have to give you everything, and
You can't even look at someone
you can't
else.
even lust after someone else. And that's where the danger comes in because
Yep.
like you said, Sean, when you deny somebody something, but when you have that
Mhm.
conversation of, yes, I know that they find that attractive. Okay. I'm never going to be 6'2" and blonde hair and blue eyed and like, geez. And it's like, I know I'm not. And that's
Mhm.
okay. That's why it's a fantasy. It's okay.
Mhm.
Like it is
Mhm.
okay. And I think that coming to terms with that, coming to terms with it's not a competition when your spouse
Mhm.
or your partner is watching porn or when you're watching porn. Because when you're watching
It's
porn, it's just a
Mhm.
fantasy.
Mhm. It's like toys. It can be a tool. But like anything, it can become too much. It can become an addiction. It can become a problem. But that doesn't mean that masturbation is the problem. It means there's something they're using masturbation as a catalyst, as the thing, but there's a problem underlying that. But what happens in this book is he has something happens, and instead of saying, "Oh, well, let's look at the underlying factor, what could be where is this coming from?" He goes straight to, this is the the problem is sexual immorality. He just goes straight to, it's cuz I looked lustfully at some woman that wasn't my wife. Yeah. He states, "My eyes, I'd committed to her, but I hadn't committed my eyes to her." I'm sorry, what? He talks about getting into an yeah, think about that one for a moment. He talks about getting into an accident because he was driving down the road and some woman was running down the street, doing her morning jog, and she was wearing a bikini. This was in California, and she was wearing a bikini. And instead of watching where he was going, he was in rush hour traffic. Instead of watching where he was going, he was watching her. I mean, I totally get that. And he wasn't paying attention, and he ran into the person. Nobody was hurt, just damage to the cars. He couldn't tell the guy who was driving the other car. He couldn't admit to the guy that, "Dude, did you see her?" No, he made something up. And then when he went home, he says he couldn't be honest. He couldn't tell his wife what happened. He lied to her, like he lied to the guy. He lied to her about how the accident happened. He never admitted that he was looking at the hot lady running down the street. And I'm like, the problem wasn't, first of all, you got to learn how to look and not get in an accident. But where's the admission of the shame? Where's the admission of, I felt ashamed for that? And then why did you feel ashamed for that? Why could you not tell your wife that you found someone else attractive? Why is it bad? Why is it shameful to find someone in a bikini attractive? The pro Yeah, you shouldn't have gotten in an accident. You shouldn't have been paying attention. But looking at a woman because she's hot, that's a problem. And that's where I get into, is like, it's natural to look at someone and go, "Huh, they're attractive," and to want to look at them. That's natural. That shouldn't be a my eyes are only for her. My eyes are only for him. That's denying of your natural of who you are naturally. You're attracted to attractive things. And so he skips right over these like I need to this is the conversation I need to have and goes straight to the I was sexually immoral. I was not close to God. I was letting my lustful thoughts get in the way and letting my eyes wander, my eyes stray.
Okay,
I'm going, dude.
here's what bothers me, and this is why it's titled "Sex,
Mhm.
Drugs, and Eternal Damnation." So
Yeah.
we're gonna do a segue. All right, so we're talking about lustful ways and like your eyes were towards God, and I hate
Mhm.
the fact that we were raised with these things were villainized. They were
Yes.
villainized and weaponized like sex
Mhm.
and porn and drugs and alcohol. Like, okay, let's like, some like the Catholics can drink. Like, I remember going with my spouses to their first like Catholic ceremony, like thing, and they were
Mhm.
drinking in the parking lot. And I was like, I wasn't at the church long then. And I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? They're like, here's a
Mhm.
cooler, want a beer? And we weren't
Right?
married then,
You're
but I
used to
was like,
hiding it.
right.
Uh-huh.
But like sex, porn, drugs, alcohol, it is all villainized. It is
Mhm.
all
Yep.
villainized. It is all bad. Like it
Yes.
is bad. It is made to be bad and it deters you from your walk from God and it deters you from all
Yes.
of these things
Yep.
and you just abstain from it because it is just bad. It is
Bad.
just
Yes.
wrong. But no
Mhm.
one could ever really, if you think about it, no one
Mhm.
ever really told us exactly why it was bad.
Mhm. It was always just bad.
It was just bad.
Mhm.
Your body's a
Or if
temple
they
of
did
God.
yeah, your body's a temple. Or if they did tell us why it was bad, what they did is they went to the extreme. Like, always the worst case scenario was that's what they told us, that's what they showed us. And not how to be responsible and how to deal with this thing in a healthy, responsible way. It was, if you do X, then this catastrophic thing Y is gonna happen. But it wasn't referred to as catastrophic, it was held up as, "This is what's going to happen. This is normal for this crazy catastrophic thing to happen."
You're right, Ray. It was all tools for the devil. And
Yep,
you also on
yep.
that, Sean, it is that like
Mhm.
it was always catastrophic. So that is what
Yes.
here is religious trauma. Here is where our religious
Mhm.
trauma is showing, folks. So, Sean and I are catastrophic thinkers. You
We
want to know
oh,
why
we
we're
are.
catastrophic thinkers when we have emotional breakdowns or when things go wrong or we make a mistake? You want to know why we are catastrophic thinkers? That's because we were trained to be. We were trained to be catastrophic thinkers. We're not allowed to do this thing. We're not
Wow.
allowed to make a mistake. We're not
Yep.
allowed to mess up. We're not allowed to
You
do any of the bad things because worst case scenario every single
yes.
time. You
Yes.
get your doctor
Yep.
comes in and says, "Hey, I'd like to do a few tests." Your brain automatically goes to you're planning your funeral. Like,
Yep.
"Hey,
Mhm.
hey, my friend has like some, THC or whatever." And you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I don't want to be addicted." Your friend hands you a
If
glass of
Yep.
wine and you automatically are checking yourself and your brain into rehab. Like
Yep. Yep.
that is where we're at in
Absolutely.
our
That is
head,
it.
folks.
We are. Mhm. That's very true. Especially because I remember thinking, and honestly, it's carried through until recently. The whole the pot situation is like, oh, if you smoke pot, you are a pothead. You are immediately one of those cliches, and that was mashed together. If you had a beer, you were a drunkard, and you were doing all these things, and you were blacking out, and you might become violent with someone or whatever. It was always the
If you
extreme. There
got a
was
tattoo,
never
if you got a small tattoo, you
Oh,
were automatically going to
yeah.
never get a job. If you got a piercing other than your ears, you were
Yes.
never going to like you were this. If you dyed your hair a funky color, you
Right?
were already like it's all
Mhm.
of these things. Um,
Yeah. It wasn't because I said so. Yeah, it was.
It was. And
Mhm.
So folks, that is, and Sean and I often, when we have conversations or we're going through something or we make a mistake or whatever, and we start freaking out. And I know it's not just with Sean, it's like with my off but they're like, they look at me and go, "You are going way like that. You're making way more out of this than it is." And
Mhm.
that's why. Because
Yep.
we were taught drugs were going to make you a druggie and porn was going
Mhm.
to make you a prostitute and
Yep.
sex was going to make you a slut and you were going to get pregnant right
No one
away.
wants and nobody wants to marry someone with a lot of experience.
And so it was like I never really I mean I drank in college, but I didn't do any of the other recreational stuff till much
Mhm.
later. And like even then it was like when I would it was like I can't drink, like I need to quit drinking. It's like it's all
You get
ridiculousness because you're
Yeah.
not taught self-control. You are not,
Yes.
and that's where it goes with the whole men thing. You guys can't
You don't
control
have
yourself.
self-control.
We as
God
humans
it's
don't have
God has
self-control.
to. No, we don't. We don't. We can't control our hormones. We can't control how we react, how we respond, because we need God. We are not in control of our bodies and how we respond. We need God to help us control that. Yep.
You know what the thing that bothers me, and I still deal with a lot,
Mhm.
especially in the area that I live in, is I
Mhm.
still the expectations of just women in general, and in
Mhm.
that I can't say no. I can't do
Mhm.
anything because somebody else is going to do it. So it's not, but it's like I'm perfectly capable of saying no. I'm perfectly
Mhm.
capable of knowing where my limits are. And I'm perfectly
Mhm.
capable of doing these things. I am not a fragile flower. I am not.
Yes. Yes, it is the perception that women are fragile and need to be taken care of, or yeah. Mhm.
Okay, here's a
Get
question for
gets
you.
on both sides. Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Because again,
Mhm.
I am medicated and caffeinated. So it's going to be like,
Oh,
this
it's
is,
coming. Oh, it's coming. Give it to
it's
me.
coming. All
Let's go.
right. All right. If Jesus came to die for our sins and be the
Mhm.
gateway to take us to heaven, but
Mhm.
our ultimate goal is to live without sin,
Mhm.
then what is Jesus's job? So we're not
Because
supposed to mess up if
Mhm.
we want to be good Christians.
Mhm.
But if we're good Christians, then we don't need Christ.
It's because we are all born with sin and fall short of the glory of God. We are all
Oh,
sinners and fall short of the glory of God.
did you just
I
quote Bible
did,
verse?
yes.
Oh God,
You
help
you
me.
asked a question, so
I
I'm gonna tell
did.
you what we were
I did
taught.
ask.
So no matter how good of a Christian you are, you will make a mistake. And making a mistake, sinning, separates you from God. Which he points out that he had he even says in the book, even a small amount of sexual immorality creates separation from God. And he realized that he had some sexual immorality in his life, and that's why he felt like he wasn't as close to God as he should be. Hmm. Yep. And do you want to know what his sexual immorality was, aside from looking at the woman in the bikini?
I'm dying to know.
Because he participated in and laughed at double entendres.
You mean basically every fucking word that comes out of my goddamn mouth?
Mine too. Yes.
It is the joke amongst my office at work that I like things become normal when I'm gone. Like they're like in comes Anna and I make everything inappropriate. Like that's like my
Inappropriate and
job. It's
awkward.
my job
Yeah.
description.
That's your wheelhouse. That's
That
what you
is my
bring to the
wheelhouse.
table.
They're like everything's boring when you're not here. I'm like,
Hmm.
like
Hmm. Yeah.
and the craziest thing on me
He
is
specifically calls that out.
I actually that's one
Mhm.
that I often think. Like
Yeah.
he made me in God's image, but God is a man and I don't know.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
there's a whole that's a whole nother bucket
One
of bolts that we
one
can
of the
get
things
into on another day.
yeah. One of the things he says, we talked about last week when we were talking about therapy and, like, Christian counselors, wasn't it last week?
Mhm.
Therapists and counselors. He makes a statement. His wife suggested, or my wife suggested, counseling. So I read some books and counseled with my pastor. I went, "Oh Lord." But that's it. That's the and I'm like, well, that
Didn't
was the
you do
problem,
that?
dude. Do you I
Didn't you
did.
do
Oh no,
that?
I did.
Isn't that what you
I
did?
mean, not with my well, and when I was young, yeah, it was a pastor or youth pastor. And then I had a Christian counselor, yeah, but that only went so far. Um, but yeah, I was like, that's one of the problems. But exactly what we talked about previously was that's what you did. You talked to the leaders in your church, which often did not give you didn't give you much help,
Right.
and then they told you to pray about it and whatever. Yeah,
I'm not
this.
allowed to feel good. I am not
Hmm.
allowed to feel good. I'm not allowed to feel good. Oh my god. Okay, I
Hmm.
I remember I remember when I got out of the church and I started like sex was like the first thing that like I was doing while I was still going to church, like whatever. But I remember the recreational activities that
Oh.
may or may not be legal in some states. But I
Hmm.
remember when I first participated in that, and I remember being so like nervous and freaked out, like completely freaked out. And I still to this day am like a little like you can hear it like in the back of my head, but I remember
You got
just
that
being
still.
like,
You have that still small voice in the back of your head telling you that you're doing something wrong.
"Oh, yeah,
Hmm.
it took a permanent residence." They literally
Oh
beat it
yeah,
into me. It's like
yeah.
that ain't
Between
going
that and the
away.
Dare program. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. That's a sweet, sweet trauma. They got a rent control apartment up in
That
my
was a
head like that.
that was a
They ain't
twofer
going anywhere. Yeah.
during in the '80s. Yeah, that war on drugs. How's it going?
And all of this to say is that we were taught that sex, drugs, porn, all of this
Hmm.
was we had an unhealthy relationship with it. We had an unhealthy we didn't respect it. We weren't taught to
Hmm.
respect it. We weren't taught
Hmm.
that there are benefits to all of these things. We were just taught we were like I said, it was villainized. And we were going
It's
to
all black and
hell
white.
if we even considered it. Like if we even
Hmm.
thought about it. If we even thought,
Hmm.
"Hey, I want to watch this porn," or "Hey,
If
maybe I
we
looked at
if
this
we were
girl picture."
friends, if we were friends with people who did those things.
Because birds of
Hmm.
a feather, because
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and that was the whole we were always afraid and to the I can't speak for Sean, but I know for me,
Hmm.
it still to this day affects me. Like there are
It
things
does.
that I literally have to stop and ask myself, do I not do it or I don't like it or I don't want to try it because I actually don't want to try it or do I actually not want to try it or do
Hmm.
it or whatever because I was told that it was a bad thing. And I really
Hmm.
have to examine and question myself and ask myself, is this just because I was taught this way? Like or
Hmm.
not?
Yeah,
And
I still deal with that all the time too.
like
It's like it's like we were talking about last week with rebuilding your identity, figuring out why you feel a certain way about something. Which is the drugs. That's a big thing with me and drugs or even alcohol. It was that way with alcohol for a while. It's like, why do I feel this way? Why am I having this reaction? Like when someone tells me, like when I find out that someone smokes pot, and then like, why am I having like I'm judging them? Why am I having this reaction? Why? I mean, up until this point, I thought they were a good person, and then why is that such a big deal? And it's jarring. It's very jarring to have
it
to
is very jarring.
reevaluate these things that were ingrained in you and reinforced since childhood.
Yeah. So
Well, it takes a lot of work.
it does take a lot of work. And so porn's good,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. Porn good.
Porn is good.
Porn are
Sex is
good.
good.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and it's just the trauma that like I'm constantly dealing with. Anything that, and I think that that bleeds over into other things. Um, it does. Anything that feels good is bad. So anything that feels good is going to send you to hell. So I'm not
Mhm.
allowed to take time off. I'm not allowed to wear something I like. I'm not allowed to do this. I don't allow myself these things because I feel like I can't. And nobody's telling
Mhm.
me I can't. I just
Mm-mm.
in my head I have to go, nobody's
It's
telling me
called
I can't wear this dress. Nobody's
called
telling me
brainwashing.
it is
It's
brainwashing.
brain.
And
And
we've been
what's that
brainwashed.
verse? What's that verse that you mentioned to me? Wasn't it? I thought you had mentioned it to me. I don't. I think maybe it was Nathan. Train a child.
That was that it wasn't
It,
me.
that must have okay. It was when I was talking to Nathan about it. There's a Bible verse that says, "Train a child up in the way they should go, and they will never depart from it." What that's saying is, if we brainwash them, then it will stick with them for the rest of their lives. That's what
Oh.
happens. What?
Oh no, Bates.
Uh oh. Oh,
Oh,
that's awful.
okay, well
Wow.
keep us up to date on that.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know.
Hmm. At the light rail station? Like where?
Wow. Yeah. I was like, "Wait, you live in the same area I do." Uh-oh. No, you do what you gotta
No,
do.
you do. You're good, boo.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But
Wow.
yeah, we were trained that way. And
Mhm.
so like and here's what I have to say about all of this too in conclusion.
Yes.
Porn is not the enemy. Porn is not catastrophic.
Mhm.
Drugs are not catastrophic. Well, they can be. Like, but I mean,
Any a lot of things can be.
yes. Alcohol is not catastrophic. It can be. But all of these things we were not taught to understand that
Mhm.
everything in moderation, that
Mhm.
there we were not taught respect for ourselves. We weren't taught acceptance. It was
Mhm.
these porn, sex, drugs, these were the gateway sins. And these were
Yes.
the sins that we were told to deny and to avoid so that we didn't make the bigger sins.
Yes.
So in reality, these aren't really sins at all. These are all things that have porn, sex, drugs of all sorts have been happening
Mhm.
from throughout the millennia. This is something that
Mhm.
human beings have experimented with, who have experienced, and that they do often, and that
Mhm.
it is part of your journey. I
Mhm.
honestly believe like even with like if you decide you don't want to do drugs, that's like part of your journey. If you drink alcohol,
Mhm.
what kind of alcohol do you want to
Mhm.
experiment with? All these different ones. What kind of porn do
Mhm.
you like to watch? It is all about experimenting and finding your identity as an
Mhm.
individual. And that
Yep.
is why the church doesn't want you to experience these things, because
Oh, that's
it is
good.
establishing yourself as an individual, and they don't want you to be an individual. They want you to be a
Yes.
drone.
The group. They want you to be groupthink. Your
Yes.
ideas have to align with everyone else's ideas. So they don't want you to find your identity.
Right. And that's what
Yep.
porn does. That's what
Mhm.
experimenting with drugs and alcohol
Mhm.
does. Because if you look, the
Mhm.
people that aren't involved in the church, they experiment with drugs
Mhm.
and alcohol. And then most of them, I mean, and just like anybody, you can become
Mhm.
a problem with it. But most of them just like, yeah, I did this, and then end up being productive members of society because they were just trying to find self-expression. And that's what
Mhm.
porn and drug experimentation and just any
Mhm.
type of experimentation really is. And I can't say for Sean because I was like, I was taught growing up in the Southern Baptist church, we weren't allowed anything. If it
Mhm.
wasn't of the church and if it didn't have a Bible verse attached to it and it
Mhm.
didn't have
Yep.
anything, we weren't allowed it. So I was
Yep.
not allowed. And when I started bucking against that, when I really started
Mhm.
questioning that, that's
Mhm.
when I really started having issues with the church. But it's still, it really affects you. When you are
Mhm. It
raised in
does.
a way of that you are not allowed, it breeds codependency, it breeds
Mhm.
insecurities, and it breeds an inferiority complex that you
Yep.
carry with you. I still carry with it to my this day.
Mhm. It teaches you how to villainize everything. It teaches you that everything's black and white, and that there is a villain, there is a malicious intent behind everything and everyone, and that is damaging. That is a very awful. That is something that I still deal with. You everything everywhere you look. There's a villain. There's Satan's behind everything. Everything is to an extreme,
And
and
Jesus
you
will
don't
always be
learn.
ashamed of you, no matter what you're doing. If you
Yeah.
try something new and it's not what like
Hmm.
Jesus, Jesus is ashamed of you. God is
Yeah.
ashamed of you. You know what? Fuck it.
God is watching.
God is
Let him
watching.
watch. Maybe take notes.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna make an off-color joke off stream. So
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys.
yeah,
It's gonna be off stream.
it's a little too far. It's a little too far. It's a little too far
Well,
for a public
oh, so you're doing what
platform.
I do, which is like drawing the line and then jumping. Oh,
No, I'm drawing the line and I'm not gonna jump over it. So anyway,
okay.
um, so total voyeur, old sky daddy. Yep. Um,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, go find some porn you like. You need some website suggestions? I got them. Like,
Hmm.
I wouldn't go looking for things that are illegal, but like don't it's okay to explore. It's okay for
Hmm.
self-expression. It's okay. It's okay. And that is something, and I
Hmm.
say that because that is something that Sean and I both were never taught and never
Yeah.
told. It's okay to express yourself. It's okay for self-exploration. It is
Hmm.
okay. And
Hmm.
that is something that we are still telling ourselves. It's sometimes
Yep.
we have to convince ourselves that self-exploration,
Hmm.
discovery, and we're learning this later in life because of our upbringing.
Yeah.
We are learning this later in life. It is never too late for that.
Hmm.
And that is the main message of this is it's never too late to explore these different facets, whether it be porn or drugs or alcohol or whatever these things. It's all part of
Hmm.
self-exploration and self-discovery. Find out what you
Yeah.
like. Find out what you don't like. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Be safe about it. Be
Yes.
responsible about it. Whatever it is, because you can do. That's the thing is we weren't taught.
Calvino, I'm
You can
already
do
on the
these
watch
things with these.
list.
Yeah, we're done. We're past that. Yeah.
We're on BSBN. We're on the watch list.
We are. I like you was kind, you was important, you was kinky.
All right, I'm writing that down. I'm making that a shirt.
I was gonna say that needs to be a shirt. I feel like that should be a shirt. Mhm.
Say hi to your FBI guy.
Hi, FBI guy.
Hi, Gerald. um,
Oh lord.
so with that, it is May 22nd. We only have
Mhm.
about 9 more days left in May. So we are still doing the Fight Against the Sadness fundraiser. Thank you to everyone who has bought something or has donated. I really, really appreciate that. Just remember, every little bit helps. That's I don't know why you're drinking out of that glass. That has nothing to do with the fundraiser, but okay.
I know.
Um
I know.
so there's merch on the my store. It is at the top of the page. Fight Against the Sadness. That is up year
Mhm.
round. And if you would like to donate, any donations that I receive on my through Venmo, Square Cash, PayPal, any donations go straight to Mental Health America this month. Um, just trying to get Mental Health America is wonderful. They try to get people connected and the resources that they need to help them. And after the pandemic and with all of the things that are starting to go on in the world, it's things are spiking. So we really really would like to help an organization that's going to try and help this country. So If you any donation, $5, a dollar, anything would be just fantastic. So, yes, and let's help people fight that sadness. So, with
Absolutely.
that, um BT dubs, we will not be on next week. Dave has picked up people walking around parking garages. Oh, nice.
Okay. Good
Okay.
to know. All right.
Dave is my FBI guy.
Oh,
Got it.
oh,
Okay.
gotcha,
All right, mine's
gotcha.
Gerald.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Just BT dubs. There will be no Nana and PepPep next week. Why? Because I will be flying to Charlotte. We are coming up to Con Carolinas, which is awesome. Go to
Hmm.
concarolinas.org and use the code CCTV22 to get 25% off your passes. And that is June 2nd through the 5th, 3rd through the 5th.
Yeah, it's that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
first weekend in June.
First weekend in June. Come see us. Come see all of the BSBN crew. Sean and I will be doing a Waking Up with Nana and PepPep from the con. And I can already go
Oh,
in.
it's gonna be good.
I'm going to tell you what it is. We are talking music. We are talking music and Christian music versus secular music. And it's all going to be all the hand waving and all of the bad hand motions. It is going to be a good time. So if you can't be there on Carolinas TV, yes, please tune in. It will be on twitch.tv/the Dondero. That's where we'll be streaming it. But yes, it's awesome. So next week, also next week we will having the first annual Nana and PepPep potluck.
Pep Pep potluck. Oh,
So
it's gonna be epic.
yes, if you are
Hmm.
coming, please send me your email address so I can send you all the information. And
Yep.
so yeah, that's gonna be the next couple of weeks. So it'll be a good time. That was a total brag moment too.
Hmm.
What? What was a brag moment? Which part?
Police station. The
Oh.
FBI guy, maybe.
Oh, okay. And Bates, we was like, this was your idea. The potluck was your idea. So
Oh
you better
yeah,
show up.
yeah. Potluck is totally your idea. Hmm.
Yes.
It's your fault.
So thank you for joining us in this week's Waking Up with Nana and PepPep while we talked a lot of porn and sex.
We
Didn't we?
did. We did.
Sex is bad and
What are we?
porn is bad.
Se- Sex is bad. Sex is bad. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Sex is
Okay.
bad. Okay. Porn is bad. Okay.
But thanks for joining us.
Hmm.
Tonight is BSBN Gaming. Follow the usual, follow, subscribe. I have no idea what we're doing. I don't know. Like
They'll figure it
whatever we're
out
doing.
15 minutes after they start.
Yeah, great big bear. Why don't you get on that?
Mhm.
Monday is also on Miko's channel. Hanging out with Auntie and Unc. That is at 7:30 Eastern. 6:30 Central, and
Yeah.
then
Hmm.
8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central is Don Darrow 101 on twitch.tv/the Don Darrow with me and Don Darrow. And then right back here on Nerd Mom Ace is a Roogs happy hour with me, Sean Ship, and John, and whoever else wants to be there.
Whoever else joins. Yeah.
Yes. So
Hmm.
that's a Monday Madness. It's always a good day. So thanks for joining us. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy your last day of your weekend. And I'm going to go medicate some more. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go medicate also.
And with that, bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.